At Kitsap County, we get a lot of public feedback related to our roads about traffic, speeding, and walkability. I'm here at Public Works, where road safety starts, to meet with Joe Rutan from Kitsap County Public Works and Sergeant Andy Aman from the Sheriff's Office to share how their departments are partnering to address unsafe roads and reduce speeding in our neighborhoods. Thanks so much for having me out at the sign shop, Joe. And so I know that the Roads Department and the Sheriff's Office are partnering to make our roads safer. So can you tell us a little bit about what's being done?
Sure. We'd like to talk about the 3 E's of traffic safety, and that's education, enforcement, and engineering. Education is getting a consistent message out into the public, and we work with the Sheriff's Department to go to schools and community groups to talk about traffic safety. We also have a lot of information on our county webpage. I encourage people to do that and look there. Enforcement, we gather a lot of data out in the roadways. Speed, number of vehicles, types of vehicles. We also look at all the collision data out there, and we take that data, we do statistical analysis on it, and provide a lot of information back to the Sheriff's Office where they can be most effective doing enforcement. And then engineering, safety starts with a safe road that's available and safe for all users, just not the drivers, but pedestrians, bikers. And we want to make sure that our roads can deal with human error. And so we have road standards throughout the county. We have different standards in the rural areas than we do in the urban areas. But that's new construction. We have a lot of roads out there that are not new construction that do not meet those standards that we hope to someday improve, and we continue to look at education and enforcement in a lot of those areas.
Well, kind of on that same note, I think it's really fascinating that what we deal with today really is based on the legacy of the mosquito fleet days. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of our roads and how they were originally established?
We are a very unique county, the way that we developed. In 1853, Pope and Talbot opened the mill up at the very north end of the county. And in 1854, they built a trail down to Agate Bay. In 1858, the original County Board of Commissioners adopted that as the first county road. But really, the way that you traveled around this community, all our communities were on the shoreline, and you traveled between them on the famous mosquito fleet. Unlike a lot of other counties that developed around railroads, we do not have the land connection between our urban centers and communities that a lot of other counties have. So, especially along the shoreline, a lot of those roads on the shoreline were laid out in time immemorial by Native Americans walking to fishing villages or clamming areas. Someone rode a horse, someone pulled a wagon, and now it's a road. So we have a lot of these legacy roads that started off as trails or trails to extract lumber from the interior that we're now trying to develop a system around.
Right, and I think we get a lot of comments about some of those roads today and the frustration, but now we know a little bit of the history, so that's, that helps.
And I really encourage people to go to the county website and click on our Getting You There tab. I find it fascinating. It talks about the history of the county and our transportation network. And it's, I think, the most exciting part of our webpage.
Well, another thing that I get a lot of questions about is how we set speed limits. And I know there's a lot that go into that. Can you explain a little bit about how speed limits are set?
Sure. All county roads are 25 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. We do a lot of traffic studies and statistical analysis of the traffic, and what we look for is what is termed as the 85th percentile of speed. That is the speed at which reasonable people are going to be driving. Most people are going to choose a reasonable and safe speed. We want to make sure that the posted speeds are close to that. If they're too far above that or too far below that, we introduce speed differential, which makes a road much more unsafe.
So talk a little bit about the different traffic calming solutions that you've enacted in areas where you see that heavy traffic and speeding.
Sure. One that we get a lot of requests for and a lot of interest in is speed bumps or speed humps. We have criteria over where we will use those. Those are going to be an acceptable use on a local road that has a certain ADT, not too little, not too much. And we want to make sure that the average speeds that we're seeing are over 10 miles per hour or more over the posted speed. We also want to make sure that 70% of the people that are impacted by these speed humps in the area approve of them. There's a lot of issues with speed bumps that we experience, so we want to make sure that the neighborhood is fully behind it.
Because there's some unintended consequences sometimes, because people will speed between the humps. Is that
they will speed up
to keep up
between the humps
to make up on
and then
time?
Brake very hard and then speed up again, or they'll use another cut-through route. They will redirect traffic. Other traffic calming measures that we do that have been very effective in the county are roundabouts instead of signals. We like to install roundabouts where they're appropriate. They can reduce significant fatal and injury accidents by around 80 to 90%. So they are highly efficient. They also move the traffic much better. There's less delay. And one of my favorite things about roundabouts is when we lose electricity, they still function.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that point. So from your perspective, what can each of us do to be safer drivers on county roads?
Yeah, pay attention, put down your phone.
Big one.
Be aware that we have signs out there that provide a lot of information, speed limits, warnings for curves, hidden driveways. So pay attention to the signs and be a kind and considerate driver, especially to pedestrians and bikers.
Great, thank you. Thank you for those great tips. And again, thanks for having us out at the sign shop.
Certainly.
Thanks so much for joining us, Sergeant Aman. Now, I've heard a real shocking statistic that 75% of Washington drivers drive over the speed limit. And that is like one of the highest in the country. How does Kitsap compare in that statistic?
Yes, sadly, that is true, and it's listed as the number 2 reason for fatality collisions in the state of Washington. And in 2022, the Traffic Safety Commission did a study for speed on vehicles, and 6 of those locations were located in Kitsap County. Out of those 6 locations, 64 to 99% of the observed vehicles were speeding at above the posted speed limit. One of the worst areas that they actually observed was in Gorst, where the speed limits were anywhere between 6 and 25 over the posted speed limit.
Oh, wow. That's surprising because it gets so crowded there and it slows down, but it's also one of the areas that's one of the areas with most speeding. Wow, that's really interesting. And
we've seen, as this is showing, this is a statewide problem as well as a local problem.
So what is Kitsap County Sheriff's Office doing to help make the road safer?
So we have a dedicated traffic unit of 9 investigators, 1 dedicated out of there, 2 enforcement only, and then we have 2 part-time enforcement officers. We also participate in lots of education out there where we talk about the DUI laws to different groups, including the devastating effects of motor vehicle collisions on not only the community and families involved in those, but just the entire area ends up suffering from those type of things. We also participate in traffic emphasis patrols, and these include all the local agencies, including WSP, and we go out there and do distracted patrols for distracted driving, DUI patrols, speed emphasis, those type of things. Through those, we hope the public is seeing that we're actually law enforcement, we're out there being present present, and we're taking speeding and distracted driving very seriously.
Also, I think, isn't there something coming in 2025? You're kind of bringing back an old campaign.
So we're bringing back the Drive Friendly campaign, and that is in cooperation with the Traffic Safety Commission to try to get people to comply with the speed issues that we're having.
And in addition to that, I know you're partnering with our Public Works Department. Can you give some examples of how that partnership works together?
When we respond to motor vehicle collisions, we collect data on those motor vehicle collisions. And one location was at Silverdale Way, Chico Way, and Newberry Hill. That area was a high collision area. We, over the years, collected a lot of data from the collisions. That resulted in Public Works utilizing that to create a roundabout there to make it safer for the motoring public through that area.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot more roundabouts, so it seems like it's a safety measure that's working.
It's greatly reduced the collisions in that area, and we still are doing a lot of enforcement through that area, but we're also looking to get the public to buy into trying to reduce the speeds, because we can't enforce our way out of this. We have to get the public's buy-in that slowing down, following the speed limits is important.
What tips do you have for folks to help us be a little bit safer on the road?
One thing is realize the more speed you bring into an incident, the more energy there will be for the crash. And if people can pay attention to their speed, not drink and drive, minimize distractions as they're traveling down the roadway, they can greatly reduce their odds of being involved in a motor vehicle collision. The other thing is realize that pedestrians and bicyclists have a right to the roadway. And anytime you're mixing them, they're considered vulnerable roadway users, and it doesn't take a lot of energy to cause significant injuries to them. So slowing down around bicyclists, giving them at least 3 feet, and pedestrians, giving them at least 3 feet before you go around them.
Thank you so much for being here. We all want to be safer drivers and safe while we're walking and cycling, so we just really appreciate all you do and what your department does to keep our roads safe.
You're welcome.
A big thank you to Joe Rutan and Sergeant Aman for talking with us today and sharing how the Roads Department and Sheriff's Office are partnering to make our roads safer. To share concerns about safety on county roads, please contact Kitsap 1. As you can see, there is a lot each of us can do to be safer drivers. And don't forget, be a good neighbor. Use your seatbelt, slow down, and drive friendly. Thanks for watching. Until next time.